Hey guys, this is Dr. Mans, and the title of this screencast is The Introduction to the Molecules of Life. I'm a firm believer in the idea that if you know how something is built, then you can understand how it works. All of these things you see on the screen right now, this nice beautiful oak tree, my nice beautiful wife, these really cool neurons here in the brain of a rat, all of them are made from the same basic molecules. And so if we understand how they are built and broken down, we can start making predictions and understand how all that works. So let's get into it. So some key terms to get started with. The first key term is macromolecule. Macro simply means big. So if somebody says it's a macromolecule, they're talking about a really big one. To build an organism, that could be a single-celled organism, like a cool little paramecium, or a tree, or a human, and keep that organism alive, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. The second key word we're going to get into is polymer. The definition of a polymer is a long molecule that consists of lots of similar or identical building blocks. Poly means many. And mer stands for unit. So this is saying there's lots of units. You probably just noticed that the first word, macromolecule, sounds pretty similar to that word. That's because macromolecules are polymers. The reason they're so big is because there's lots of repeating small building blocks. And that leads us to our next key word, monomer. The monomers are the building blocks to build the big stuff. The definition is that as a repeating unit that serves as a building block. Mono stands for one. So it's one unit. In other words, it's a small molecule. So the first two are big molecules. The last one is a small molecule. So now let's get into how we break them and how we build them. And I'm talking about carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. The first word that describes how these molecules are made is dehydration synthesis. Dehydration. That means we're losing water from somewhere. Lose H2O. And synthesis. That means we're making something. So let's get into this figure a little more closely. Another name for a dehydration synthesis is dehydration reaction. And it says here, we can define that as the synthesis of a polymer. So we're making a big molecule. What you see right here is a short polymer. It only has 3 building blocks. 1, 2, and 3. There's a 4th building block right here that we would like to add to the end and make this a bigger polymer. So we want to go from this short polymer and add one more onto it. We end up with a longer one that has 1, 2, 3, 4 units now, and this can keep on going for thousands and thousands of steps. Why is it called a dehydration synthesis? There's a hydrogen hanging off the end of building block number 3. There's an OH group hanging off the building block number 4. When this covalent bond is formed between 3 and 4, the H and the OH combine and give us water. This is the dehydration that the name is talking about. So if we just back this up a second real quick. All we're trying to do is make a bond, a covalent bond between number 3 and number 4. That is this bond right here. During the process by which that bond is formed, an H and an OH are taken off the ends of these two building blocks, and they form H2O. That's all there is to it. That's dehydration synthesis. Now, to break a polymer is exactly the opposite. Now, hydro means water. So you've either got water coming or water going, and you're either making something or we're breaking something. So to lyse, another word for lysis is, you can think of that as cutting. So we're going to be cutting with water. When they're excavating these huge chunks of marble from mountains in Italy, they use water at an insanely high pressure that if you got an arm or leg in front of it, it would take it off immediately. So if that helps you remember hydrolysis, awesome. So how does this work? All right. Here's the big polymer. Not big. It's only got 4 subunits. But poly means many, so it's more than one. 1, 2, 3, 4 subunits. We're going to cleave off one of these. So what we would like to do is break off subunit number 4 from the rest of the chain. There's a reaction by which water is used, and that bond between number 3 and number 4 is broken. This used to be number 4 out here. And during that process, an H gets attached to subunit number 3, and an OH gets attached to monomer number 4, and that's how it works. Now let's watch this in a little video so you can picture this a little bit better. What you're about to look at is a dehydration synthesis. Here is a monomer, glucose. Here is a monomer, it is glucose. We're going to combine these to make a little bit longer molecule. So we're on our way to building a polymer. Let me orient you a little bit. So this side has the OH hanging off of it. This side also has an OH hanging off of it. However, only the H part is going to come off, and it's going to combine with this OH. So let's play it. There it goes. So if we rewind it, our goal is to get this carbon right here to attach to that oxygen right there. Say that again. There's a carbon right here. We want it to attach to that oxygen. During that process, the OH group is going to come off from this carbon, and the H is going to come off of that oxygen. H2O. There we go. It's written funny, HOH, but it's water. So that is how a dehydration synthesis happens. And now you can see that this carbon right here is connected to that oxygen right there. Now I'd like to show you this in a different animation, and this one combines an extra element, which is an enzyme, which is simply something that catalyzes reactions or makes them go much faster. And without enzymes, the reactions that we're talking about, building and breaking molecules to make an organism, or to break down substances for food, these things would not happen without enzymes. So, here's an animation from Campbell's Biology to help you visualize what's happening. So to set this up a little bit, this is a monomer. You'll see those OH groups hanging off, and here is another monomer. They're going to be combined. So what you see right here is an enzyme, and it is combining these two monomers together, and you see water was lost, and it's doing it again. Water's coming out, and you'll notice there's that O between those monomers. Now we have a 3-unit molecule. So we're starting to make a polymer. The next thing we're going to do is learn how to take this thing apart, and that is with hydrolysis. Again, an enzyme is needed for that. This time water is going to come in, and it's going to cleave that molecule, and this enzyme is going to make that happen. So to sum all that up, some of the keywords you need to know are macromolecule, polymer, and monomer. Dehydration synthesis, which is how we build macromolecules, also known as polymers. It's the way by which we combine monomers together to make really big molecules. Hydrolysis is the way by which we break them down. So we go from big chains to shorter chains. And thanks to this biochemistry, we have beautiful things like live oaks, wives, and brains. Thank you, and I hope that was helpful. I'll talk to you soon.